Welcome to the 525 Records podcast, sponsored by High West Whiskey, Double Rye. Fantastic. My guest today on the podcast is Jared Richard. He's the frontman for the band The Verbs out of San Jose, California. Jared, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's good to finally get this done. We've been trying to do a podcast episode for a long time, and it's finally here, and I'm so stoked. I can't believe it. The song you just heard a little snippet of there in the beginning is called Gravity. It's off the Verbs' brand new double record. It's a double record. And what does that song mean to you? What is it about? I mean,
It's ironically about alcohol. And
by the way, cheers.
cheers. I heard you are living clean and sober in Las Vegas.
Clean and sober as a whistle. If we can, Johnny, give me my screen. The Verbs have a great website. It's theverbs.com. You can find out all about the Verbs. There's links, there's pictures, all about the record. We should give a quick shout out real quick to the other members of the Verbs. Pronounce his name for me, will you? Paul
Singolani.
Singolani.
I know last time you were like, Chingolani. No. It's Singolani.
Yeah.
Singolani.
Okay, that's great. He plays the bass, does a bang up job.
Yep.
Jeff Ham is on the drums. He's been in a bunch of bands. Was it Weapon 11?
Yep.
All over the place in the NorCal area. Really good dude. And, it's so hard to keep a band together. Even when you're young and good looking and everybody's, working crappy jobs and, they're fully committed to the project and everybody's on the same page and like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to practice every day. We're going to get really good. But
we're going to make it.
Yeah. Even in that situation, it's hard to keep the thing going more than a couple of 3-4 years, and even harder once you get to a certain stature in life. Maybe you got a mortgage, maybe a couple kids, but you guys, you've made it through the pandemic now. You just put out a double record. You got a few shows coming up in the NorCal area, I believe. Yep. Pacifica, Campbell,
yep.
And Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale, yeah. Which
you can find all about on the verbs.com website. Check it out.
Yeah, verbs.com/tour. That'll get you right there.
Awesome.
And yeah, to your point, keeping a band together is a challenge, especially when you're not 20 anymore. That said, Paul and I have actually been in probably about 6,000 bands in the last 20 years. One of them was called Audio Bender.
And that was kind of the early genesis of the Verbs, was Audio Bender.
A bit, yeah.
Nobody puts out a double record in today's day and age. It's really impressive. I mean, doing all those guitar tracks is tough. I mean, how long did it take you, start to finish, just to record this record? Forget about writing it, but...
So Jeff was a champion, and he banged out all 15 tracks in, I want to say it was a single 8-hour session in the studio. I went in and, most of my, I do the bulk of my writing before I even gets to the band. I do a demo recording in my home studio, and then I bring it to the band and I say, hey guys, this is my idea. And we kind of, arrange it and flesh it out from there. But when I get into the studio is where I do the real, the finishing touches, and I like to experiment a lot. And so if I was just in the studio with the guitar trying to experiment and trying to finish these songs, it would take a lot more money than anyone I know has. So I have a home studio, and I actually did the guitar tracking at home, and saved them and uploaded the tracks to the studio, at which point they were mixed in and all that. So
that's really incredible and a huge time saver. But again, you have to be on the page of I know exactly what I'm going to do before I do it, where I'm not just, give me another run. Let me try that again. Give me another overdub. You had a very precise plan that you executed. It was not like, we'll go in the studio and wing it,
Yeah, no. I mean, the studio, we definitely knew exactly what we were doing. We knew the exact song order. It was a very conscious effort to make a double album and in the exact order. So essentially it's a double album. The first half is called the White Album. The second half is the Black Album. and they're two distinct halves. The White Album is more, little more pop, a little more power pop, kind of punk, but it's a brighter sound. The second album, the Black Album, is a much darker sound, minor chords, heavier, crazy distortion. It's essentially my writing's all over the place, and in a way, it's kind of on purpose because I'm sick of going to shows where I see a band play and after the first song or the second song, I know exactly what they sound like, and that's all I need to know. It's over. The part of the joy for me of going to a show is obviously hearing songs that you know, or hearing songs that you like, but also not being bored to tears by the same style, the same song over and over again. So I really, when I write, I actually, from years of being in a cover band, hilariously, is I learned that variety is not a dirty word. So
I think it's a perfect juxtaposition of exactly the kind of tough choice that you have to make as a frontman between, you've got really harder rock songs that are very black, very dark, very, really just rock and roll, but there's other songs that are much more on the songwriter side. And it's this, to me, what I see from the outside perspective as this battle between, which way do we go? Right now you guys are sort of doing both, hence the double record.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a tough place, to not get pigeonholed in one side or the other, and to try to do them both is very big. It's very ambitious.
I'll tell you, it's a pain in the ass to come up with a single.
It's so much easier to just lean back on we're a hard rock band, black, we're going dark, we're going to kick you in the balls, versus, here I'm going to open up and be vulnerable in a song that I've written, which, it's much harder to do as an artist. It's easier to just go out there and rock, but the minute you try to mix in more, songs with much more depth, it gets tricky, and it's hard to walk that line. And that's, something you guys do pretty well.
Thank you. It's definitely something that we think about. We love both, and it's gonna be a challenge. I think ultimately we're probably gonna go in a different direction and just find something new, because at the end of the day, what we care about is making great music, and not just great music for the sake of it, but would I want to listen to this if I wasn't playing it? Period. And that constantly evolves. So.
You think about the cost to do a double record. I mean, it's enormous. You make writing seem like it's the easy part, which is the hardest part of all. But, here you are, 15 songs, all pre-written, planned out, all the guitar lines. It's just a matter of going in and executing.
First of all, thank you for that, but I need to clarify. So I do write the songs, but Jeff and Paul definitely bring a lot to the table. Like I'll come up with a kind of a base theme, and Paul will take it to the next level. And same thing with Jeff. I'll come up with kind of an overall beat of what I think a song is, what it needs, or how I feel it's going and what direction it's going. And Jeff will really come in and lay down the fills, the intricacies that I could never dream up. So it's definitely a collaborative effort.
How do you feel about John Mayer?
Oh, electric third rail.
I mean, this is something I wanted to bring up with you because he's another guy that, has got too much talent for one man to have,
Fucking true.
Nobody should be that good looking and that talented. I mean, here's what pisses me off about John Mayer, right? Like, it's one thing to be ugly and be that talented musically, and I mean, nobody can take anything away from his guitar playing. He's one of the best guitar players that's ever lived. But it's just when you see him in a commercial or like a fundraiser, or like in a songwriting video, for instance, like he does these little clips where it's like, here's how you really write a song. Maybe you do a little lick like this. He's just,
I'm not even trying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
and
bro,
it really pisses me the fuck off. Like, dude, if you're gonna be that good, you should be like a little bit ugly.
get a Volkswagen and receive a custom first act guitar. Plug into the stereo and rock your V-dub from bumper to bumper.
John Mayer Goes Outside.
Presented by
Land Rover. I'm gonna go outside today, and I'm gonna get away with this. I really am seeing what I can get away with without making people go like, oh, come on. I've sort of committed myself to some extent to always being in that zone of something that makes people go, what? But then the fun part for me is finding balance. And then when you get away with it, you want to do something else that makes someone else go, well, now what is that? Hey, yo! Shut the up!
Okay. That went pretty much how I expected.
John, lay back. I'm going to take a few bars.
Oh, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. And in fact, I can make a record that's in some way provocative, if not antagonizing, right? I want to get in trouble. I want someone to tell me this is shit. I'm just a dude who buys a bunch of clothes and has figured out his own sort of code for putting them on, lest anyone think that this has become too precious. Just a dude who buys a bunch of clothes. Aren't we all? We're all just people who buy a bunch of clothes.
You shouldn't be like an Adonis, just running around slaying actresses, It's just unfair, god damn it, don't you think?
Bro, it's so yes, to 100% of all of that. So yes, John Mayer is, there is no fairness in the universe to John Mayer. Okay, brilliant guitarist, brilliant songwriter. He went to Berkeley School of Music.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's from Connecticut or something, but he went to Berkeley and he dropped out because he was too good for his fucking professor.
Of course he did.
But listen, okay, so for the douchebaggery, which is clearly there, also in spades is the genius. It's a problem. It's a problem. He is not the classical shredder at all. He's very blues based. He copped 90% of his stuff from Stevie Ray Vaughan, which, hey, if you got to pick somebody, that's a good guy.
If you can play it at all, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially, accurately.
Yeah.
But, I worked at a casino for 20 plus years. And, from about 2002 to about 2006, you could not walk through a casino without hearing "Your Body is a Wonderland."
Fuck that song. And
think about those lyrics. "Your body is a wonderland. I'll use my hand." What the fuck, dude? Really? What A&R dude fucking made him make that change? There's no way that you write those lyrics naturally and it's not a producer note or something like that. It's just trying to imply that sexuality and turn him into Britney Spears. I want to run through the halls of the high school. I want to sing at the top of my lungs.
So, you know what? Here's where I disagree with you. I believe he actually did write those fucking lyrics because not only is he a beautiful specimen of man, which is a problem in itself. We were already feeling, like inferior. But also he happens to be a flippin' genius. The dude is smart. If you ever, seen an interview with him, he's just rattling off genius things at lightning speeds that it's a problem. It's a problem.
Bro, what if he's not human? What if he's like some kind of like super robot, like clone that the Defense Department has put out into the world to like kill rock and roll? Anybody from even wanting to try, because what are you gonna do? You can't beat John Mayer, right? Unless you're in a punk band. You're gonna try to do what John Mayer does? Good luck, dude.
Dude, it's Chat GPT. It was like pre-Chat GPT. It was Chat JMM. Wait, what's his middle name? I don't know. Anyway, Yeah, it's
John Mayer, John Mayo, Mayer. I mean, jealousy is a thing, but I mean, dude, just for the last 23 years, the world's been subjected to John Mayer. Oh, you know what? Speaking of which, you guys played a gig recently. The Verbs played a gig at the Hotel Utah in San Francisco.
yes.
And on the website for the Hotel Utah, they have a couple of artists that have played that room, which is the whole reason I wanted to talk about this. But one of them is Frank Black from the Pixies doing a solo set.
Did not know that.
The other one is John Mayer.
Fuck you.
Yeah, up on there with just an acoustic guitar and himself. And not only is he killing it musically, but his interpersonal relationship with the audience in between songs, it is just like, dude, it's too much. You're too perfect, dude. You're too charismatic. Everybody loves you too much. You're too good of a guitar player. It's just not fucking fair that one guy can have that much fucking talent. But since you play the same rooms as he does.
Well, yeah. Whoa for a second. Like, are you telling me that I played the exact same room as John Mayer? I mean, I'm sure our crowd sizes were exactly the same.
Well,
but aside from that,
those guys, they show up there after the gig to do an impromptu set. And this was, I believe it was in the late 2000s, maybe early 2010s. So it was a while ago.
But the Utah, just to clarify, has been around for about 120 years.
Yeah.
So it's literally, yeah. So,
used to be a brothel, I believe.
God bless America.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Your body's one shirt.
Thank you for letting me come bust this thing out for a second. There are people playing for the love of music. I'm one of them. And people let me have this stage. This is a cool room. I've never been in this room before. Think it sound right for you? Who says I can't get stoned? Turn off the lights on the telephone. Me and my eyes on. Who says I can't get stoned? Who says I can't be free from all of the things that I used to be? Rewrite my history. Who says I can't be free? It's been a long night in New York City. It's been a long night in Baton Rouge. I don't remember you ever looking any better. But then again, I don't remember you. Who says I can't get stoned? Call up a girl that I used to know. Fake love for an hour or so. Who says I can't get stoned? Who says I can't take time to meet all the girls in the county line? Wait on fate to send a sign. Who says I can't take time? It's been a long night in New York City. It's been a long night in Boston too. But no, I don't remember you ever looking any better. But then again, I don't remember. I don't remember you.
Well, speaking of, impromptu shows in NorCal venues, you guys, before you were the Verbs, you and Paul were in a band called Audiobender, and you guys played, what was the name of that place in Fremont? It was
The Saddle Rack.
Saddle Rack, and just there was a ton of amazing musicians that showed up that night. Who were some of the people that you got to hang out with and on this gig that the Audiobender was playing?
So this wasn't the happiest of circumstances. This was a benefit for a sound engineer at Saddle Rack who had cancer, and so a lot of musicians from all over the country came out and played a benefit concert, and basically they were playing, and it was an auction, and just a lot of a who's who of old school rock icons,
including your band Audiobender. How do you get on that show?
Yeah,
how did you guys get on that show?
I don't know. I mean, it was Keith St. John. It was Rudy Sarzo. Tracy Guns from Guns N' Roses,
legend,
pre-Slash. I mean, so many people. I'm forgetting like a dozen, but essentially, I'm backstage in a green room with these guys, and I'm like
titans of rock.
Yeah, I'm warming up with Tracy Guns. Like literally, he was before Slash, Guns N' Roses. It's why Guns N' Roses called Guns N' Roses. Tracy Guns, Axl Rose,
L.A. Guns,
L.A. Guns. Yeah.
Everybody knows the story.
And he's chilling on a. It looked like an R9 Les Paul.
He's like, "Hey, Jared, what's up?"
Yeah, playing in a little pig nose just in the green room, warming up. And I'm just like, hey, I bump into Keith St. John. He was a singer for Montrose. This basically post David Coverdale reincarnate of Robert Plant. And I was like, hey, Keith St. John, I'm just coming up to, hang out with you in the green room because we're peers.
I bet you're pretty excited to meet me, huh?
Yeah, no, it was
insane.
You
know what I would have done? I would have been like, hey, and then I would have ran out the window.
No, it gets even more awkward and awesome. And so I run into Keith St. John, and I'm like, hey, cool, I'm here. I'm your peer, and I'm totally kidding. He said, hey, what's your name? I'm all, Jared Richard. He's all, oh, you Audiobender. So you got a great fucking voice. I almost fucking died, bro. I almost fucking died. I don't, but it was literally like 13. I mean, you had members of the Tubes, Ozzy, Whitesnake, LA Guns, so many iconic bands, and it was little Audiobender. We were the only non-legends that got to take the stage.
That must have been a hell of a manager. I don't know how that happens. That's fucking awesome, dude. So, you like to drink?
A little bit, yes.
How often would you say you get fucked up?
I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week.
525 Records podcast brought to you by High West Whiskey.
High West.
Hand me a refill, man.
Oh. Of this spectacular rye blend.
Talk to me about this particular whiskey. What makes it so special? It's rye, double rye, as I recall.
So yes, this is High West double rye. High West is a distillery out of Utah, of all states. A traditionally dry, a traditionally dry state. So how they got around this, because there are no distilleries in Utah other than High West, they fucking bought a post office that had been abandoned, and they built a distillery on that land. And that land, because it was a post office, is federal land, and federal land cannot be subject to state laws.
This is good to know.
This is very fucking good to know.
Well, it tastes fantastic. Yeah, hit me with a little High West there. Thank you, buddy. All right, cheers.
Yep. Clink.
Oh, now we're doing it. We were drinking Manhattans last night, and you ordered a Manhattan that blew me away. I've only had like kind of traditional Manhattans. This one was it was an orange peel instead of bitters, as I recall.
Close. So I like mine up, stirred.
What does that mean?
So up means no ice. Stirred is you stir it in ice, but when you pour it, you don't keep any ice in there.
Got it.
And I also I order it with a twist of orange instead of the cherry because I think the orange, it just cuts different.
Welcome back to the 525 Records podcast, brought to you by High West Whiskey, double rye. Cheers, buddy.
I don't know if I can still cheers.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're doing the pod. You play Reverend Guitars.
Fuck yes.
Solely. And I want you to explain to me why, because if you look at some of these guitars behind me, I'm a Les Paul guy, for instance. There's nothing better than a Les Paul and a Marshall, if you ask me. Now, that's going to piss a lot of people off, but, I love Stratocasters, hollow bodies, any kind of thing. But you have this relationship with Reverend Guitars, and I just want to know how that started, and what makes them so good to you, and where are they built, and just tell me about your obsession with Reverend Guitars.
So I started with Les Pauls.
Right.
It was, they're the classic shape, they're the classic sound. It's the thing. I couldn't afford a Les Paul, so I went Epiphone, which, granted, they are not bad guitars at all. If, basically the headstock is the biggest detractor. So they use, cobbled together wood as opposed to a single makeable top, and sometimes they use veneers and stuff like that. Nobody cares. They sound good, they look good. It's... Les Pauls. You can't argue against it unless you like money.
They're not cheap.
They are not cheap. And now like a studio is like $1,800. It's fucking nuts. So I went to Fender, and basically the first time I picked up a Stratocaster, I was like, this feels so much better, and oh my God, what is this whammy bar thing? It's amazing. But then the bridge pickup, it was just like ice pick to the fucking brain, and although I did play Fender for quite a while, I actually I hot rodded a few Fenders, Strats, and turned them into Super Strats and stuff. Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates bridge stuff, and they were cool, but it still wasn't. It wasn't perfect. They were there. I always looked for things. Looked for changes.
So one day
I heard about Reverend. I don't remember if it was like in a online ad or somebody sent me a flyer. I have no idea. Somehow I got a hold of something called a double agent W. The W stands for Wilkinson tremolo. It's a fucking P90 in the neck, a humbucker in the bridge. The neck is perfect. It's like a 59 Les Paul, but a little bit slimmer, C shape. Locking tuners. Fit and finish is amazing. Oh, did I mention they're cheap? They're like $1,000. They sound amazing. Ever since I found Reverend, I got fucking stickers on my car, bro.
Dude, you invited me to the Reverend Guitar Club on Facebook or whatever, and I'm like, who are these fucking assholes? And I'm like, oh my God, dude, there's people that are just crazy about these guitars. I've never seen one in a store. I've never heard about it. How the hell do you even buy a Reverend? Is it direct to order or what?
No, you can go Sweetwater. It's a little hard to find them in stores, so pretty much you have to buy them online unless you have a specialty. If you're in NorCal area, Keith Holland Guitars in Los Gatos, they have some Reverends. Shout out. I'll expect that check later, Keith. But
yeah, we're doing him the favor. Yeah.
But it's, they're spectacular guitars, and now when I pick up a Les Paul, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And when it costs twice as much, fuck you. And when I pick up a Fender, the neck is too flimsy, and I see too much plastic, and these tuners don't lock, and it costs 50% more. It's mind blowing.
How many Reverend guitars do you own now?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
It's a lot, right? Like 5 or 6, something like that.
I want to give a number, but I don't know. I have about 15 guitars right now. I'm going to say like probably 90% are Reverend. So let's just say ballpark 13.
Have you ever seen that meme? It's from Goodfellas. So I buy a new guitar and the wife asks me, does that mean you're going to get rid of the old one?
I've seen that meme. Yes. Yeah.
This is you in a nutshell. I mean, you're a prolific poster to Instagram. So all I see in my feed is, oh, Jared got another Reverend. Look at this one.
Or a Mesa.
Yeah.
Shout out Mesa. I'm in love with Mesa Boogie.
Why are you in love with Mesa Boogies?
Because the quality. I mean, it's point to point. They're so sadly they were just bought by Gibson. So,
really? Gibson's going bankrupt. What the fuck?
Yeah. Maybe they thought maybe we buy fucking Mesa and we're gonna be cool again. Whatever. As long as they leave them alone and just say, hey, we're just gonna reap your profits, but you get to manage everything, I'll be fine. But Mesa, I mean, it's just they're beautiful amps, and I don't even go for like the Mark series.
Are you head in cab? Or are you talking a 2x12 combo?
Yes. So I mean, right now I run a TA30. It's a transatlantic series. They were discontinued. I want to say 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. But long story short, Channel 1 is basically a Vox AC30. You know, their take on it. And it's fucking brilliant. So basically you can change the wattage between 15, 30, and 40 watts. And then channel 2, you can either have like a Marshall, JCM 800 or Tweed. It's kind of crazy. And so basically in my main rig, by the way, this thing weighs like 20 pounds and it's a metal tank lunchbox head, by the way.
So why not just run an AC30? Why not just go?
Because AC30 weighs 900 pounds.
Okay, so it's really a logistic and a sound thing.
Well, would you like to have an AC30 and a JCM 800?
Do I have roadies?
Yeah, in the same thing that weighs 20 pounds and it's made of metal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hey, all you 525 fans out there, the Verbs, the band out of San Jose. They've got some shows coming up. I want to tell you about them. If you are in the NorCal area, if you're in Pacifica, Friday, May 5th, they are playing at Winter's Tavern. They'll be with Avenue Army and Raised by Rats, 8 p.m., $5 at the door. Check them out. If you're in Sunnyvale, California, you can go see the Verbs at the Quarter Note on Friday, June 9th. They'll be playing with the 19s, 8 p.m., $5 at the door. And if you're in Campbell, California, you can see the Verbs for free at the Cardiff Lounge. That's on Friday, August 4th. Be sure to check them out. That's the hometown show. Be sure to check out theverbs.com for all their tour dates, merch, news, everything Verbs related. And as always, listen to the 525 Records podcast. This podcast is brought to you, as always, by 525records.com. Be sure to head over to the website. We got all the artists there, all your favorites, all the links to all the greatest stuff. You can check out the podcast. You can check out all the latest news. You can even buy a Robert Bruce Burnham vinyl record for the low price of $20. And I'm offering a very special deal. I can't tell you what it is. It'll be a surprise. I can only tell you that if you buy a Robert Bruce Burnham vinyl, I will personally mail it to you in a cardboard vinyl mailer, and you will receive way more than $20 in value in the mail. And that's all I can tell you.
Hell yeah, player.
So be sure to check out 525records.com for all things 525. And now, back to the podcast.
I put my pants on, just like the rest of you, one leg at a time. Except, once my pants are on, I make gold records.
Well, that's good for you.
Thank you very much.
Well, speaking of blast from the past, we were in a band together in high school.
Indeed, we were.
And I'm going to embarrass the fuck out of both of us by playing some of it. Here we go. This is from 1993, recorded on a boombox onto cassette in the room as it happened. And yeah, the audio sucks, but it's the 30-year anniversary of this recording. And let's just have a listen. Hans, you missed that chord.
4-track magic.
It's not even a 4-track. It's just a boombox, and you hit record.
Oh, it was you got to hold play and record? Song about LSD.
Who's that awesome guitar player?
I don't know how he didn't end up ruling the world.
Direct Stevie Ray Vaughan ripoff.
I was just about to say, I actually was going to go Hendrix, but...
I mean, with licks like that, how did we not make it?
Still fucking spectacular, bro.
Right into a Black Crowes breakdown. Like
that was, yeah. I need
this literally Remedy.
Oh, shit. I didn't even know that.
Oh, you hear that feedback?
Remember you had a fan on your head, on his amp head, because it would overheat. And so you had a fan face down on the head. Like one of those window fans, those big blocky motherfuckers. Our first show at the pool party in Foster City, California, shout out. It was you had a fan on your amp head because you were afraid your tubes were going to overheat. I mean that was the thing. That was like spectacular. Through a crate 4-cab.
I'd love to tell you it was if you're an old man like us, you'll remember there used to be a store called Radio Shack.
Oh,
and in Radio Shack they sold solid state amplifiers that were meant for like stereos.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would take a PV combo amp, I would output that into the Radio Shack head, which is a big no-no, you know. Never plug a power strip into another power strip, right? So it would just completely...
Our engineer.
And of course, we had to be at a fucking 11 at all times. So this solid state head would heat up, and it would, just like your PA, it would clip, and then it would just shut off. And my genius solution as a 15-year-old fucktard was to fucking put a box fan on there to just keep it cool, especially in the hot weather. You know, you got to remember, you're practicing in a garage in California. It's hot as fuck. It's 100 degrees in this room.
No AC. By the way, when I made my garage flipping studio, full AC. And it cost $1 trillion.
Well, that's good for you.
Yeah. Fuck you, sound clip.
Come on, man.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
Yeah, so those are good times, man. The best times of my life, I think. You know, but we talked earlier about like I miss being in a band. You know, and for a couple of years there, we were this high school band, and nobody else. You know, we were like the only ones that we knew that were in a situation like that. And
we had chicks.
Yeah, it was
Granted,
great.
they were like 13, 14, but we were like, you know, 14,
we were little
15.
15-year-old snot-nosed fucking douchebag rock stars, prima donna attitudes, the whole thing. Band meeting Carl's Jr. You remember that?
Carl's Jr. Okay, so back in the day, for those not in the know, you could still smoke in California. I mean, you could still smoke anywhere.
In Carl's Jr.
You could smoke in Carl's Jr. You could smoke at fucking McDonald's. The smoking section of McDonald's was kitty corner to the kids section. And they had little fucking ashtrays that were made out of tinfoil. Yeah. Carl's Jr. had the badass ones made out of plastic, and they were big, and we used to actually steal them
And whenever things got too serious in the band and we had to have a talk, one of us would announce band meeting, Carl's Jr., and you had the four of us little fucking snot-nosed 15-year-old rock stars chain smoking Marlboro Reds in this Carl's Jr. like a motherfucker. I mean, I can't imagine doing that today. But then we'd have very serious discussions about, well, I don't know about this chord here, or what about this line, or,
or we gotta fire the singer, fuck him. No, but yeah, it was ugly. It was hilarious. It was great. We were broke as shit. I would beg you, like, bro, can you get me a Superstar flipping cheeseburger?
Yeah, 89 cents.
Yeah, 89. They were all cheap, but I couldn't afford a damn thing. Now I'm like, I can afford anything I want, and I can't eat any of it because I'll get fat overnight.
Yeah, but band meeting doesn't mean we're going to go eat at Carl's Jr.
No.
It just means we're going to go suck up a booth and chain smoke.
Chain smoke, lighting one cigarette with our other cigarette that's still lit.
Yeah, because we're that cool.
That fucking cool.
Oh, those were the days.
And yet we're still alive.
Well, speaking of the old days, you wrote a book.
I wrote a fucking book.
You wrote a book. It's a memoir. This is it right here. I've got a signed copy.
I published a book. It was kind of fucking weird.
I mean, talk about ambition. Not only do you put out a double record when nobody else is doing that, but you also wrote a book, published it, and it talks a lot about some of these early days. I mean, at one point you were homeless, and look at you now. I mean, you're just killing it. And, also a little birdie told me that you once hacked into the MLB.com website to give Barry Bonds the win in terms of, what was it, a vote or something like that? How did you do that, dude?
I will neither confirm nor deny this. So long story short, I like to code a bit. And in 2007, Barry Bonds, it was his last year. So I'm obviously a Giants fan through and through, born and raised in the Bay Area. And that particular year of 2007, the All-Star game was going to be held at Pac Bell Park. It's now called Oracle Park or something, but at the time it's Pac Bell Park. It's their fabulous waterfront ballpark.
Yeah, you hit a home run and then it goes in the water.
Yeah, McCovey Cove. And Bonds was way behind in the voting. So it was kind of a travesty that he wasn't going to get into the All-Star game in his final year of eligibility. I mean, he was about to we didn't really know he was going to retire, but tea leaves, and so basically I wrote a little program this year. All-Star voting.
Whoa. What language?
This one, it's a very hilarious, unique language. It's called Auto IT.
I've never heard of that.
No one ever has. So it's a very high level. So low level languages are like ones that talk to like, your hardware and, the OS, your HAL, stuff like that. High level languages are ones that like sit on top of everything. That basically this high level language, you could make it move the mouse. You could make it click the mouse. You could make it type stuff. And so, it's almost like emulating a person, a user. And so the All-Star voting for that year was the first year that you could actually vote via website as opposed to having to actually do ballots at the ballpark,
right?
Handwritten ballots. So you had the website and they didn't hire the smartest guys in the room to do it. And so their website had some flaws. I mean, number one, it lets you vote 25 times with the same email address. And, I guess they just thought, hey, we want repeat visits, whatever, probably to sell ad revenue, who knows. But I discovered that you could do it 25 times, refreshing the page, whatever. That's easy. But you could also change the email address and then do it again. No problem, because they're not checking the email address. They're not sending you, some kind of confirmation like, hey, confirm your email address. It's just you put in your email address and you vote 25 times. So I wrote a little script that opens up the website, generates a random email address, votes 25 times for Barry Bonds, refreshes the page, generates another email address, does it again.
And so did Barry Bonds win?
He did. But again, I don't know if it worked. What I do know is I wrote this script and I shared it with some like-minded individuals and a group of I want to say 10 to 12 of us, ran this thing for about 3 days straight in the very waning days of the voting process. And Bonds jumped up 1 million votes, and he got into his final All-Star game.
That's so cool. That's amazing. You little hacker.
I don't know if it was legit, but I did call KMBR, our local sports talk radio station. I called the Razor and Mr. T show the Flamethrower.
You're listening to 95.5, the Flamethrower.
So I did call our local sports talk radio station, KMBR, the Razor and Mr. T show, and Razor, he's no longer with us. But I kind of told him of our exploit.
Well, if I could read an excerpt from the book that you wrote that talks about this particular incident, talking about Barry Bonds, he was my hometown hero who grew up here and signed here and stayed true to his roots, and he was losing to a clearly inferior player.
Clearly.
So I hacked the election. I've always been fond of coding. I first dabbled in a language by the name of Turbo Pascal back in college. College being the anyone with a pulse is welcome. You got a pencil, get the fuck in there. It's college. I found I had an aptitude for them, and I would soon move on to other languages like BASIC and C++ and others that very likely mean absolutely nothing to you if you are not in the club. I would ultimately choose a non-programming career path, but my love of coding never waned. I would incorporate it into my daily work life with an emphasis on automation and the web. So when Major League Baseball announced an internet-based voting system for the All-Star game, it was, as they say, in my wheelhouse. The voting rules were simple enough. Fans would go to the voting website, choose their favorite players at each position, and submit the ballot. Further, the rules allowed for voting up to 25 times per fan. I assume this was done to make the fans feel like their votes really mattered, but more likely, it was to get more eyes on their advertisements that lined the voting page. And because MLB wanted the fans' email addresses, man, what a precursor to today's modern world of metadata and data collection. God, it seems like yesterday, but it's just ancient history. So, long story short, June 30, 2007, Barry Bonds was elected to his 12th and final All-Star game. I cannot tell you that we were solely responsible, and I cannot tell you with certainty that the script even worked. I can tell you that we did what we did and that the vote count rose exponentially, and that when I called into Sports Talk Radio's Razor and Mr. T show later that week to boast of my accomplishment, I used my old alias of Eric Lang, because you have to stay true to your roots. So just one of the many crazy stories in this book. I mean, there's, cops with guns and criminal activity and just an insane amount of living packed into a nice paperback book. And yeah.
Also available in hard copy.
Also available in hard copy. And where can they find this book if they want to get it?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere. How great is this fucking whiskey?
It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
High West Double Rye.
Speaking of the old Rising Sundays, we should Rising Sundays. The band was Rising Sun.
S-O-N.
The most original band name anybody's ever created.
All time.
One of the members in that band was the great Hans Schneidenbach. And we should call that motherfucker right now.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's doing. Oh, there he is. Can you hear me?
I hear you, bud.
What's up, Hans?
Hans Schneidenbach, welcome to the 525 Records podcast. You're live on the air in studio with the great Jared Richard.
The great.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Chilling.
We were just reliving some of the glory days, and we wanted to get your take on some of your memories. Like what do you? How do you remember getting introduced to the band? Like, who brought you in?
Oh man. Let's see here. Well, Foster City, right? Foster City crew. I knew Jared from freaking way back. Like, I'm talking like middle school and shit. From the neighborhood. So
12 years old, running with Steve Tovey.
Yeah. Steve Tovey. So that's a funny story in itself. So like, me and Steve Tovey were like best of friends back then. We were chilling. That was like somewhere in middle school, and Jared was like the next grade or something older than us, and he used to drive his bike by my house, which is like he lived like 2 or 3 blocks away, and fucking like he drove by one day, and Steve Tovey started talking shit, and Jared like did a U-turn and came back around to my driveway, and we're like, oh shit, like what's going on right now, you know?
You talking to me? You talking to me?
It kind of blew my mind, but like we didn't like become friends right away, but like we kind of like did start talking, I think, later on, right, Jared?
No, absolutely. And if I recall correctly, we had a band right before Rising Sun.
Okay.
I don't know if we actually had a band name, but it was you on guitar, me on vocals. We had the great Jimmy McTiernan on bass, and
Yes.
Harold Rucker on drums.
Yes.
And we had one song called Glaze My Face.
Yeah, that was like fast forward to like the early high school days. That must have been like freshman year for me or something like that. I remember it all went down in high school, and I remember the band. We used to jam in Shoreview with Jimmy and with Harold and stuff. That was really fun, man. Those good days, man. But then and then we all met, and things got, I think, a little bit more serious, you know? It was like probably the first like serious band I was in. Well, you know.
We practiced a lot, and we all, because it was so hot in the drummer's garage, we all had our shirts off constantly. So it's just like, 3 young adolescent males with their shirts off, sweating balls, practicing this rock and roll music. Do you remember any of the old songs? Like we were just listening to them. Last Spiritual Discovery, Alone, what was the other one? Wild Child or something? Child is Born, I forget, but
a child
is lifted onto the heavens.
Oh my God, I forgot the fucking lyrics.
This is before Creed.
Oh Lord.
I still remember how to play a couple of the songs, but I wish we had a tape of it. I don't know if you got it.
We do. We were listening to it. There's no way I can play it right now, but
no, that was pretty amazing, man. It was a lot of fun, and it was like the first kind of experience I had jamming with like a band that was a little bit, more serious about it. We had that whole like we're gonna fucking make it attitude. We did shows, and we even had a couple
shows. We had groupies. We had chicks. Granted, they were
What are you drinking, dude? What are you drinking?
Three Sons Brewing in Dania. Oh, you got the All Day. I love those.
That's Jared's pick. Jared picked these.
Yeah, All Day, and I have the High West
Double Rye whiskey out of Utah.
IPA, but it's by an East Coast company. It's delicious.
I spy on your Instagram feed quite a bit, and you're always going to these little microbrews. You spent a week in Vermont, as I recall, and definitely out in Colorado, just visiting breweries. You're always with an awesome microbrew in your hand somewhere in the world.
Yeah, man. I can't get enough of it. I love the shit, I mean, one of those nice things in life, a nice little IPA, and I'm happy.
Do you remember band meeting Carl's Jr.?
Dude, I remember those days like they were the glory days, man. I fucking I still remember us like taking up that corner spot in Carl's Jr.
The back corner.
Ashtrays on the table and a carton on the freaking table and the waffle fries and stuff. I felt like Guns N' Roses and shit.
Carton.
We were like City Guns N' Roses.
We were. That was our goal. We were trying to be the next Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
I stole cigarettes from that Safeway every day for like a year until they finally busted me. But I had quite the little ring going on. I would go into Safeway. Back then they sold cigarettes right by the cash register, so I would just put like 4 packs down my pants and then walk out of there. And I hit it every day for about a year, and then they finally busted me.
Marlboro. I mean, their revenue was down.
Yeah.
It was down.
And now, of course, they're behind lock and key. But back in the day, there used to be a spindle right by the cash register, like it's People magazine or, a pack of gum or something.
I still remember they had a vending machine at like fucking
Senor Pepe.
At like Carl's Jr. or something across the street, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
They had Senor Pepe's. They had the vending machine. They had vending machine like pretty much everywhere. I mean, it was the 90s. early 90s, late 80s, it was everywhere. And you could literally, I mean, if you were a kid, though, you were kind of on the ground and doing the military crawl, to get in there so you wouldn't be noticed. But then you pop in like 4 quarters and get your pack of smokes. Whereas today, a pack of smokes in California is basically $97 in your firstborn child. And,
Yeah.
But back then, a child could get his birthright of a pack of smokes, no problem.
Yeah, I remember they used to have those machines where you like pull the thing and the fucking cigarettes just like pop out the bottom and shit.
Thunk.
So like, it doesn't card you and shit. You just put the money in. Boom.
Do you remember how the band broke up? Because I don't.
Motherfucker, you fired me.
Oh. I think there was a couple things going on, if I remember right. I mean, I could be wrong, but so remember we were like a high school band, right? And I was kind of new to high school. I think I was like a freshman or something like that when we started jamming. And we were together for a while. We did those talent shows, and we were really serious. And of course, we were all like really good friends and stuff, and we were just having fun in general for a while. So the way I kind of saw it was maybe the drummer was he was like a little bit more serious, I feel like, at the time. And maybe me and Jared and you were not. I don't know. I really don't know. Like I think that maybe Jared, you started getting a little wild, dude.
I partied my fucking face off. It was all bad.
Kind of all did, but like, yeah, like, maybe there was like some personalities crashing there. And I think too, honestly, like towards the end, I started jamming with Bob and Dave. Do you remember them? You don't?
Bob Simmons and Dave.
Yeah, Dave Wang.
That.
I think maybe when things started kind of falling apart with whatever we were doing, I basically started like kind of jumping into that band at the time. Maybe there was like some personality kind of clashes, not personality clashes because we were all friends, but like that ego kind of clashing shit going on, and maybe people were just partying too much, weren't really like being serious about it. Let's be honest,
Hans, you want to say anything else? You got any plugs? What are you doing these days?
You know what? Not much. I mean, I was in a band a while back, and this is going back a while because I started having kids and stuff. So last time I was in like a serious kind of situation, a serious band was probably about 9 years ago. We were playing out here in Fort Lauderdale, South Florida. We played clubs. It was a band called Minority Assembly. It was basically like a punk rock band. Maybe something along the lines of like Bad Religion or kind of like 90s Cali punk stuff, The guys were really cool. Like we had a great time. And what happened was, the drummer kind of had to move back. He was actually from South America. He moved back. I had kids. The thing kind of just like fell apart. And then just recently though, we've been jamming. Nothing serious, but we've been jamming. But it's been kind of like, it's been a challenge to like keep people, the bass player we were jamming with kind of like stepped off, and I don't know.
It's one of the things we talked about a lot on this podcast is, especially at the jump, is how hard it is to keep a band going. Even when you're young and good looking, and everybody's motivated and on the same page, it's incredibly hard. And when you get to, a certain age in life, it gets even harder. So anybody that's in a situation with a band these days, it's a miracle.
I 100% agree with that. It's like you got the personality thing going, which I'm cool. Like I'm pretty much like I can get along with most people, but like then like you have your musical tastes that often gets in the way. And then for me, the big thing was like having a family, man. To be honest with you, like it kind of requires your attention 100%, and well, whatever's left over, you get to like contribute to the band. So like when they want to get together and jam, or they want to, you know, do this and that. Like, honestly, to be in a band, seriously, you really have to like give all your attention to that shit, man. You know, I don't know. So it's been kind of, I still play music though. I still, you know, you can see.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. What is that Gibson guitar back there? The tobacco burst. Grab that fucker.
Oh, yeah. That's actually not a Gibson, dude.
What is it?
This is a Yamaha. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a Yamaha, what is it, like a SA22 or something like that? It's, you know, it's like a 335 Yamaha version. It's pretty tight. I didn't want to spend the fucking $6,000 for a real Gibson, but this thing, to be honest with you, plays, I think, just as nice.
Awesome.
It's a guitar. And of course, I got the custom shop Strat. So 60s custom shop Strat. You know, just a bunch of pedals, freaking Pro Reverb.
Is that a vintage? Oh, that's a Pro Reverb.
Yeah, it's like a early 70s Pro Reverb.
Nice.
Damn. Yeah, that thing's freaking glorious when turned up, man. Sounds so good. And I got, you know, the Vibro Champ. I got some Mesa Boogie in the corner. I got a little Marshall half stack with a clone on it. Of course, the turntable and all that shit, you know?
Dope.
Oh, here's the other thing I've been messing with. MPC.
Look at that.
You know about that, right, Elliot?
Not really. Is it a drum machine?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, it's like a music production kind of type thing. Yeah, it's a drum machine, sampler,
loop and loop trigger.
Everything in a box, you know?
So what are your, do you have any like memories that stick out of Jared in particular? Since he's the guest on the podcast, we have to talk about him 24/7.
Oh, we have to talk about Jared. Man, I have so many memories of Jared. I mean, like I said, we go back, way back, man. The ones that stick out the most is that one time where we told him he was a piece of shit when he was riding his bike past us, and he ended up turning around and driving right up to our face. That was like the funniest shit I've ever seen, and it was honestly very cool. And I think that's how we became friends. You know, obviously jamming with you guys, that was like a really big part of my kind of coming up, you know. It was great times.
We got to wrap this up. We got 2 more phone calls to do, buddy. Thank you for joining the 525 Records podcast. It was been a blast talking to you. We're going to talk off the pod and hopefully hang out one of these days.
Hans, bro.
Hans, legend, member of the legendary Rising Sun band from Foster City, California. Thanks for joining the pod, man. It's good talking to you.
All right, love you guys.
Love you too, man. Oh man, that was awesome, man. Hans, what a guy. Man, this has been an incredible podcast. It's been cool to walk down memory lane and hear what the Verbs are up to. So theverbs.com, As I Remember It, a memoir by Jared Richard. 525records.com for all things 525. Check us out. You know, we're on Instagram and all the other places. And Jared Richard, my guest today on the 525 Records podcast. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming down and doing the pod, man. I appreciate it. It's good to catch up, and hopefully we can do this again next year and make this a regular thing.
Brother, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Cool. On that note, 525records.com, and we'll see you next time.
Salud. Yeah, you nailed all of it.
How many hours have I been gone? I still have the sickness. How could it all have gone so wrong? Well, a plan.
Yeah, Mike. The difference is having both and guitar. Every style we
The best of me.
All right, kill it.